Welcome to the BumbleKast. I'm your host, Ian Flynn, the Bumble King, and joining me as always is my Bumble co-host, Kyle JCRB Krause.
Hello, everybody. I am here as always. I've never been gone. Have I ever been not on this show? I can't think.
No,
I can't
you've
think.
got a better track record than I do.
I don't know. It's weird. Yeah. Yeah, it's strange. Maybe one of these days you'll need a guest co-host and then we'll have to figure something out.
Who would put together the show? I'm useless without you.
I think you can do it. You can handle it. It's not particularly difficult.
No, you know what? There was one show where we couldn't get the times to sync up, and that was when we interviewed Aaron Weber.
Yeah, there were some interviews I wasn't there for, but I was there for at least like part of the show surrounding it. But I wasn't there for
missed a whole show.
Right, but yeah, there were some interviews that I did miss out on, and Aaron Weber was one of them, sadly. Oh, well.
Maybe we'll get him back sometime.
Yeah, maybe.
When he's not in Japan and in such a different time zone, he's in a different day.
Well, I mean, he's so far ahead, it might just loop back around, and he's he's just at the same time, just tomorrow. I don't know. I don't know these things. I don't think that's true. I think, yeah, whatever. Ian, should we get started with the actual point of the show and the reason why people are even here?
Well, first I was going to touch on the subject of mistimed things.
Oh, okay.
And that was last week was my 15th anniversary of writing for Sonic.
Oh, nice.
I mean, I knew it had been that long. I just didn't remember what the actual date was, and it would have been perfect to talk about on the show last week. But we kind of recorded that show, and I didn't know about it. So to celebrate, there was a 15% off coupon over at the Bumble Comic Shop. Except that coupon has expired if you're listening to this now, so we missed the boat on that as well. But just as a reminder, if you're looking for comics by me and you want them signed because the convention season is still dead, head over to the Bumble Comic Shop over at bumbleking.com. There's no deals right now except for the fact that everything is super cheap. So check it out, and you never know when another deal might pop up, and I missed the opportunity to advertise it here.
I didn't even realize it either, because I was just so busy focused on my own anniversary that was happening around the same time. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, why don't you tell people about that?
It's like we already did, but it was a pretty
tell it again because in case they missed it.
Pretty convenient timing. But I've been doing radio stuff for 18 years, online internet radio, the form of podcasts or music radio shows since 2003, in March 2003. So I've been at this for too long, and I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep going, but I've been at it for too long. Lots of things happening in March, apparently. It's just wild.
One might even say it's mad. Call it March Madness.
Coin
that term that's never ever been used.
Well, I think it's time we march into the Q&A, though. Get out of whatever we're talking about here and actually get into the reason why people listen to this thing.
Should we go over the usual introduction, or have we been at this long enough? People ought to know how to do
it. Ian, nobody knows how to do this.
Okay. I mean, every show is somebody's first show, so
yeah, it's like a comic.
Yeah, there you go. All
yeah.
Right. So if you want your question answered on the show, email us at BumbleKast@yahoo.com. Tweet to us at BumbleKast. Comment on any of the YouTube videos, and if you're a patron, post anywhere on the Patreon page, although we would prefer that you post in the Q&A the Ask Q&A channel over on the Discord. If you want your question answered sooner rather than later, become a $5 patron over at patreon.com/BumbleKast, or send us 2 coffees. That's $6 US via coffee. That's ko-fi.com/BumbleKast. Be sure to include your name and your question. Otherwise, it's just a straight donation, and we love those. but we want to make sure that you get your money's worth out of it. Please be sure to check the master list for the Q&A over at bumbleking.com/BumbleKast. And please don't ask anything that's going to be in Lost Hedgehog Tales, because we can't touch on it for ever. I don't know. For a while.
Make me cry. Anyway, let's go ahead and get into the priority Q&A. Starting off with one here from John B. Between all the different versions of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles you've watched or read, what are your favorites of each turtle? Favorite versions of each turtle?
Yeah. That casts a wide net.
Mm-hmm.
For Leo, it's got to be the 2015 CG cartoon. Is that when that came out?
2012.
2012. Okay, that was close.
Yeah. Around that era.
Because I feel like that's the first time he had a personality. He was a bit of a dork, and that was fun.
Mm-hmm.
Raphael, I want to say the CG movie that predated the TV series.
Yeah.
The one that had Patrick Stewart and a completely pointless monster subplot. And if you ignore that, it's a great Turtles movie.
It's funny, is so far we're on the same page.
Mikey, I'm kind of inclined to go with the CG cartoon again, mostly for the moments where they had him. He's a complete goofball. He's the child of the group, but he also has inherent skills that are just not like the others. He has his moments to shine, few as they are, and I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
Donnie? I might have to go with IDW Donnie.
Oh, yeah?
Because nothing immediately jumps out to me in the animated versions as particularly standout. But I feel like Donnie has been taken in interesting directions with the IDW stuff and put himself into some dire situations. So, yeah, I think that might be my 4. How about you?
My favorite version of Donnie is any of the video games because he has the longest reach. No, seriously, I do. I actually love Donnie. He's my favorite turtle. But the thing is that my experience and my exposure to a lot of Turtles media is pretty limited. I watched the whole 2012 series, so I'm kind of partial to those incarnations for most of the characters. The 2003 movie, the CG movie, was a lot of fun, and I do definitely like Raphael in that movie. But yeah, as for Leo, I don't know. Leo, he's fine in the 2012 show, but he's fine. That's just kind of Leo's thing. He's fine. He's not great. He's not great, but it's okay. It's okay. So I guess the 2012 incarnation for most of them is just, for me, by default, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I only watched the premiere episode of Rise, so Rise, and I never saw the 2003 version except for the big crossover.
Oh wow,
the big crossover thing. So I never saw the 2003 version. I probably should. There's that one. That one seems to be positively viewed. So one of these days.
Mm-hmm.
Was there something else you wanted to add on that?
Just that Rise it's very different.
Right.
And that may not be, it wasn't a lot of people's cup of tea.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say that it felt like a lot of the jokes, at least in season 1, could have gone to any of the Turtles and it would have made sense in any of their voices. It was kind of, I don't want to say generic, but they were all kind of snarky about the same level. But it did something different. And for that alone, I feel like it should be given kudos.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't have yet another trip to the farmhouse. We didn't have one of the turtles beaten by the foot and nursed back to health. We didn't have the same story beats yet again just slightly remixed. It was very, very different, for good or for ill. And some of the animation was just jaw-droppingly gorgeous.
It does look very good, yeah. Yep, the animation looks fantastic, but other than that,
overall, it's not like my Turtles, but then again, I'm also in my 30s. My Turtles have been
there are so
thoroughly explored.
There are so many different incarnations of the Turtles that it's like, do you have a Turtles? It's like, whatever.
Yeah.
It's like Sonic. Well, it's not my Sonic. It's like, there's so many different variations and versions of Sonic. Which one is even the real one at this point? The games are like the only one you could point at and say, yes, the games are the true canonical version of Sonic. But even still, there's just so much. There's so much beyond that you can't ignore it. So yeah, I like the 2012 Turtles personally, so I guess I'll just go with them. Next question here is from AfroLuffyX. The preview pages for Sonic's 30th anniversary comic seem to not have speech bubbles and dialogue. Will the comic have the characters be silent, or the dialogue and speech bubbles weren't added in yet?
That was actually something I brought up with Sega when I pitched the story. Was like, do they want it to be a silent book? And they said, no, make sure everyone talks. We don't want to confuse anyone and make them think that Classic Sonic can't speak.
Except they spent all this time confusing everybody and making people think Classic Sonic can't speak.
But to answer your question, yes, there will be dialogue and Sonic will speak. It's just the preview pages were nice and clean so you could look at all the very, very pretty art.
Yes. Next question is from Off. I recently saw a short video from the late Stan Lee where he goes on a mini vent about fans treating comic characters as if they're some kind of static being with set limits or abilities that have to be written a certain way, i.e. so-and-so would beat so-and-so because reasons. With Stan explaining that characters' abilities only matter as far as the writer writes them. As a writer, how do you feel about this? I've seen folks say you write some characters poorly or out of character, to which I've always said in character is however the current writer decides to write them. What's your take?
It's not cut and dry.
Yeah.
In terms of like which character would be which character, that's, I'm comparing power levels is fun as long as you don't take it too seriously. But I believe that there are, actual metrics that you can use, and this character in this particular setting and time period would have these skills and these powers, and therefore it would make sense in comparison that they would succeed or lose. It's there's a degree of hard and fastness that can be had there. In terms of characterization, that is a little broader, but I feel like if you're contributing to an ongoing series, you should look at what came before and try to honor it as much as you can. This can be very tricky in long-running books, especially ones that are not necessarily cultivated with continuity in mind, because then you have all sorts of different interpretations of characters that sometimes just can't be reconciled. And you'll run into some instances where, what one writer believes they're doing with a character is not how it is conceived by anyone else. Case in point, like one of the starkest things I can think of is Locke from the old Sonic book, where his creator saw him in a very heroic light, and to everyone else it was pretty clear how monstrous he was. I mean, at least misguided, if not outright vile. And so my interpretation is very different, of course, but I feel like what I did with him was justified within the context of the material as it was presented. And from there, if you don't agree, then okay. I mean, it's kind of subjective to a point. It really is a thorny issue because, not everyone is going to have the same creative vision, and there's not always going to be the same editor providing oversight, and there will be a number of external factors affecting how those characters are portrayed or allowed to be portrayed. So I feel like I'm meandering. I feel like that when writing serialized comics, let's kind of narrow it down specifically to that. There should be credence paid to what came before and respect shown to the previous material, but you cannot say that there is one immutable incarnation of the character from start to finish, because characters have to grow, they have to change, and not everyone is going to render them the exact same way. It's part of the reason why we have so many of these stinking reboots and retcons and whatnot, is because the characters get taken in a certain direction and they're decided, no, we're going to dial back to this, more recognizable form, and thus undoes any reason to continue reading because it's meaningless at this point.
Right. Yeah. I don't really have anything else to add, so it's all good. The next question is from Diane W. What would interactions between Sticks and Cosmo from Sonic X be like?
Hilarious. Because Sticks would be all over the place. First of all, she's terrified because it's an invading alien, and then she's super excited because she was totally right. There totally are aliens, and they are here on the planet, and she totally called it, and she's going to tell everyone. But no, wait, if this one is here, is this a scout? Is she being tricked? Is this all actually just an elaborate ruse to make her think there's aliens when it's really something from another dimension? And she goes off on 17 different tangents, and Cosmo's just kind of staring and trying to be polite. But she really doesn't know what's going on, and she's actually a little afraid.
I mean, yeah, that's kind of the normal reaction to Sticks, I think. Just stare and smile and be a little afraid on the inside. Next question is from Papa Dreepopoulos. Ian, have you considered other writing formats? You're a comic writer, of course, but could we someday possibly see Ian Flynn, novelist?
I've tinkered with it, and it would be neat to do at some point, but the shifting of gears in how you think of constructing a story is a lot greater than you would maybe initially imagine. I've been doing comics so long that format is kind of my default now, in the way that the words that I choose, the descriptors that I use. The language has to be very concise and informative in a almost emotionless sort of way, because you're not writing scripts to convey an emotion or an elicit a certain response from the reader. You're laying down blueprints. It's a very technical document when you get down to it. These panels of these sizes and this arrangement in these settings with these characters saying and doing such and such. There's a little bit of color in the dialogue, but you're not writing to entertain the art team. You're writing to give them instructions on what to render, and then the finished product is what elicits the emotion and the interest. Writing long form narratives is completely different. There is no middleman. You are creating the art with the words. You're trying to construct the vision in the head of the reader, and that is a completely different style of writing. And I've, again, dabbled here and there on a few things, and trying to find that right voice that is descriptive without being technical or overly descriptive has been really hard. I mean, if I had time to sit down and tinker with it more, I could probably get into my old groove, because I used to write long form tons and tons when I was younger. Not that it was any good, but that it was a different cadence. I was more comfortable with it, and going from that into the script format took some time to shift gears and adjust. So I'm sure I could go back to it again if I tried. It's just finding the time to do it. Because it's not like I've got lots of things going on right now. But long rambling answer to your question, I would like to. It's just it would take some dedicated effort on my part to get back into that kind of writing. It's not just something I can pick up and run with.
So someone needs to pay you to write.
I mean, if there's some gajillionaire philanthropist out there who wants to support the arts and just, funnel cash at me, so all I have to do in life is eat, sleep, and write, I'm not going to say no.
Yes.
Whatever you want, Mr. Moneybags. You want a 20-page story about how much you like Donatello's feet? Sure, here you go. I'm going to go back to Drogon once that's done. Cool? Cool. Enjoy yourself.
What? Okay. I'm not going to.
I'm not a proud man, Kyle. I'm practical.
Okay, yeah. Okay. Here's this question from Minty. Did any of the Diamond Cutters ever see or encounter Infinite during the war? Considering Infinite was also a mercenary, would they have recognized him or even crossed paths with him in the past?
That is a fascinating question and an incredibly tantalizing story starter. And I don't think we'll ever see that. Because,
Dang.
I mean, the Diamond Cutters were not meant to be returning characters. They served a purpose in Whisper Story, and that purpose has been served. So, like, any story exploring the Diamond Cutters and Jackal Squad or just Infinite wouldn't really go anywhere because we know what happens to all of them. It's not like they could change in any meaningful way, but it would still be really neat to just do. So, once that philanthropist gets to me and, settles all accounts, I'll have time to do a nice little fanfic and everyone can read that. How about that?
Sounds good. Sounds good. Next question is from Joestar SSB. Hey Ian, big fan. If you were handed the opportunity to completely retcon or rewrite or rework Infinite the Jackal's backstory with little to no restrictions, be it in either game or comic format, what would you change, and what of his character would you like to further explore? And people are asking a lot about Infinite these days.
Yeah, and I blame that entirely on Sega's marketing team, because if there wasn't the hype coming up to him, he would have been forgotten by now.
Yeah.
Okay, if the hype and the theme song weren't there, he would be forgotten by now because he is really lame. He is a poor man's Mephiles. He is just abysmal. And
is Mephiles even that great?
I mean, only because of Dan Green's voice acting. Just so much ham there. And, Infinite had Liam O'Brien voicing him, and Liam's a brilliant actor, but you can't work with nothing,
Right.
And the voice filter they put over it robbed him of any new.
I know. I didn't even realize you say his Liam O'Brien voice. I'm like, what? Really? I never even picked up on that.
It's friggin' Liam O'Brien. And got him.
And I can usually pick out most of the Critical Role folks when they're voicing somebody, but no, I missed that.
No, he's buried under the voice filter.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know. There's so very little of substance to Infinite that I don't feel like there's much to retcon or revise. It's just a matter of taking what was there and do something with it.
Yeah.
Jackal Squad is a bunch of bounty hunters that attacked Eggman. That's not really what bounty hunters do, but you know what? I run with it. Who were Jackal Squad? Did that even matter? Not really, because none of them had names or designs. So let's just kind of like jettison Jackal Squad or something. They really don't serve a purpose in the narrative. Infinite has this very bleak outlook. Like, that was one of the notes I got when we were doing the Prelude comics, is that he was kind of nihilistic. He wanted to see the world destroyed. Why? Why does he want that? That could be explored. That was the entire motivation to Finitivus. All right, fine. We can remix Finitivus into Infinite. Why not? What motivates him to want that destruction? There's the whole, I'm not weak nonsense. Okay, he has an inferiority complex. Where does that come from? What can you do with it? Just there's a thread there that could be spun out into something larger, but for now, Infinite is just all flash and no substance, so it's really hard to say what to revise without actually having something to revise first,
Sure. Some jackals just want to see the world burn.
We live in a society.
I guess that is Liam O'Brien, isn't it? I don't know. Maybe it's just because he was so forgettable. Maybe I realized it at the time, but then completely forgot because Infinite's so forgettable. I don't know. Anyway, here's a question from Happy Times. Rouge's greediness pre-reboot Archie sometimes seemed more malicious, antagonizing Julie Sue about how she'd steal her then-boyfriend Knuckles, wanting the Soul Emerald despite Blaze's world dying, even compared to her other portrayals, including post-reboot. Was this intentional?
Yeah. At the time, Rouge was still fairly new, and she was supposed to be a dark type character, and a lot of the stuff had skewed her more kind of heroic. So I was trying to skew her back towards someone who was, dark. And that was not received very well by the fandom. And so I figured, all right, start skewing her back towards what she's been in the games, which is, slightly self-serving, but more, I guess, if not heroic, then at least on the side of the good guys.
Yeah, she's like,
and then
he straddles the line between chaotic good and neutral.
Yeah, and then with notes I got during the early IDW stuff, it's like, no, skew her more selfish again. It's like, okay.
Well, that's how it goes, They always want something weird. Creative Name has a question. Hello, Ian and Kyle. My question is once again for Ian. I may be getting my facts mixed up, but the story I've always heard about you getting brought on to Archie is that you kept sending them unsolicited scripts until Penders left, and when he left, they brought you on as head writer to replace him. My question is, what were the contents of these scripts, and did any of the stories make it into the final comic? Did they have anything in common with Other M? Many thanks, and feel free to be thorough.
All right, so first off, yes, I did get in because I sent in unsolicited scripts. Don't do that. That's going to torpedo your chances. I got super freaking lucky. I put in my work behind the scenes with a lot of data gathering and clerical work, so to speak, kind of getting things organized with the comics information. And then I was offered the lead position while my predecessor was told that he'd be given 6 months of steady inking work, but he was done in the writing position. He instead decided to leave on his own accord and pursue his own interests. So that's the order of events. In terms of what was in the scripts, they were nothing related to Other M. No. I've tried to bury that good and dead. They were... I had them live at one point back in the day. One was like a 12-pager, I think, dealing with good old Damocles the Elder. Remember that Hot Topic guy? Yeah. And just kind of a fun, full team adventure. There was one kind of backup story that was dealing with Jeffrey being kind of shady. There was some other small backup story, mostly to show that I could do different story lengths and that I knew the history of the characters and could tell stories that were inclusive to old material but kind of take it in new directions. Stories that could be open-ended for continuation and stories that were done in one. And that was apparently good enough that I was shown how to do it properly from there.
Our next question is from Scurvy Pirate Hog. We know that Dr. Eggman is busy fighting Sonic, so that begs the question, where is Dr. Baconman? What is he doing with his life?
Well, they were working together very early on, but things just weren't working out between them, so they kind of went their separate ways and in a hurry. You might say that they had a break fast.
Mm-hmm. And there was there also something involving Dr. Toastman?
He did kind of come between them.
Yeah.
I mean, usually they could, rely on him. He was a good foundation for them both, but I don't know. Eventually that kind of crusty exterior just kind of rubbed him the wrong way.
Yeah. And then
they tried to butter him up on more than one occasion, but
And then Dr. Sausage Man showed up, and it was a complete freak show going on there. It's like, whoa, everything just went off the rails.
I feel like if we continue this analogy, it's going to get real dirty real fast. So let's just leave it at that.
Sure. I have nothing else to add. I can't think of funny things. I can't think of anything right now, actually. But I can think of this question from Scruffy Matt. All right, fellas, you wanted a harder who will win question, so let's really get your brains working this time. Kyle versus Ian, who wins that fight? Before you answer, though, I wanted to make it a little more complicated this time. Recently, Outside Extra published a video where they had a battle between Sonic and Shadow, but in the form of a tabletop RPG complete with customized abilities and powers based on what Sonic and Shadow are capable of. I'd like to see something like that. Ian, what kind of magical writing powers would you have? Kyle, what kind of broadcasting abilities would you use? And who wins when the two of you face off against each other in glorious battle?
Scruffy, I love you like a brother, but there's no way I'm spending the time to figure out my own D&D spread as some kind of mythic bard. I have not the mental capacity or the time for that one.
Is this like Bard versus Bard in a sense, then?
I guess.
I'm trying to think. I mean, I don't know. Maybe you could say I'm a sorcerer.
I was going to say, are you like a kind of vocal caster? Is there a subset of magic that's all sound-based? I don't know.
Yes, it's called Bard. It's called being a bard. It's kind of what it is. Yeah, I mean, you have an instrument sometimes, or sometimes you just sing. I mean, yeah. I'm not a singer, though. You don't want that.
Okay, so I'm just going to throw this out there. It is an epic battle. Kyle's inhuman broadcasting ability turns the masses against me, but I am able to rewrite the scenario to best fit me. Entire continents are shifted. The skies turn black before they shatter. And as the dust settles, Kyle emerges victorious, the new ruler of all the lands. What he doesn't realize, though, is that this is all the grand magical writings of me, who has crafted this story specifically to subvert his attempts at conquering the Bumble Kingdom. So in a way, we both win.
I guess that makes total sense. Written magic is more of a wizard thing. Or, yeah. It's more of a wizard thing, though. So, yeah, I don't know. Maybe you're a wizard.
I'll be the wizard.
It'll be a
behold my power.
You can dual class.
Unspeakable power.
you can dual class into wizard and bard.
Wizard bard.
Wizard bard. I don't know if that meshes well together in actuality, but sure. Why not?
Fly in on the guitar.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
I cast rock and or roll.
Oh, nice.
All right, with that bit of nonsense out of the way, we're going to take a short commercial break.
All right, let's jump into the standard Q&A right now. Right here, right now, with True Utopian. I remember that at the end of Sonic Unleashed, Chip's ring was left behind and Sonic wore it as he ran. Likewise, Rouge had Shadow's ring at the end of Sonic Adventure 2, and infamously, Chris got it on Sonic X. Do these mementos still exist? In the IDW verse, what did Rouge do with it? And does Sonic still have his?
That depends on whether Sega wants us to acknowledge that or not. I would imagine Rouge gave the inhibitor ring back to Shadow. I mean,
why would she?
The continuity there doesn't line up because he had them both when she found him in the pod. So that must mean Eggman created another one, which I guess makes enough sense. He is a super genius after all. Maybe she kept it as a memento. I don't know. And I guess Sonic has Chip's ring stashed somewhere. Maybe at one of Tails' places, because Sonic really doesn't live anywhere. He's a very speedy hobo.
He really is. He really is. Next up, we have a question from Spybond Plays. In Sonic issue 252, Dr. Wily sends 5 of the roboticized masters to track down Proto-Man/Blues, and Dr. Eggman is taken aback by saying incredulously, 5? I knew Thomas Light was a liability, but... Then Wily says, I've had enough of him ruining my plans at the last minute. Then Dr. Eggman says, oh, he's one of those types? There was this one lackey I had. Who was this lackey of Dr. Eggman's that ruined his plans at the last minute?
It's been a while, but I think that was supposed to be Snively.
I was going to say, weren't those issues kind of where you were sneaking in some references to things that you hadn't been able to previously because Sega was kind of looking the other way for some of them?
Well, no, because with Worlds Collide, that was when we were introducing the new continuity. We knew we were going into the new continuity after the reboot. I mean, after the crossover. And Snively was still a part of that.
Okay.
But we also knew that we were also being very game-centric. So it's been so long. I can't remember now if our thoughts at the time were that Snively had betrayed Eggman at some point in the past classic era and then had gone to Gun, or I guess that would have to be it. That's the only way it would really work out timeline wise. So yeah, I think that might have been it. I know there was some discussion over how to render Snively and such, but I'm pretty sure all of that was on the cutting room floor. So I think that was it. Not 100% sure, but I think.
I see. Here's a question from Waffle Wolf. In issue 194, Fiona says that everybody she's ever trusted has eventually betrayed her. The one that stuck out to me was that of her parents. Was that something that had been mentioned previously in the comic that I just forgot? Something that would be addressed in Lost Hedgehog Tales if it gets to go ahead? Or am I just reading too much into a line?
I don't think it was referenced previously. I'd have to go back and reread the story where Mighty and Sonic find her in the child labor camp, which sounds so weird to say out loud.
What are child labor camps doing in Sonic the Hedgehog?
See, I can't remember if there was implication there and I ran with it, or if it was kind of a, well, what is she doing there type of thing, to just really drive home the point that she was a damaged individual. Because it felt like, because Fiona up to that point, a lot of her characterization or a lot of her heel turn had been built around the implications that she had been wronged, and there wasn't a ton of evidence to back that up. So I think that moment was me attempting to build on that a little. I don't readily recall any concrete plans to explore who or what happened with her parents, but I might find that in old notes. I'm honestly not sure. It's been 15 years, man. I can only keep up with so much continuity.
Well, maybe it'll show up in Lost Hedgehog Tales whenever that shows up.
One of two things needs to happen for that to happen, and I'm getting tired of waiting for either.
Well, can we make one happen?
No.
Darn.
I mean, you could, but no, don't.
Here's a question from Joe S. Since it's been some time, how does it feel not to be head writer for the comic? I know you're still contributing, but does it feel any different, aside from less stress? Evan's amazing, but you've been at the helm so long it must feel bittersweet being on the side as opposed to steering the ship.
It is a little bittersweet, but if anything, it's kind of exciting. It kind of feels like back in the old days when I first got started, because, you know, there had been 10 years. Was it 10 years of books up at that point?
Yeah. Wait, when you started, there had been 10 years of books?
Had it been 10 or had it been 15?
I think it was more like 12 or 13. I want to say the comic started in 92, 93, somewhere around there.
Okay. So point is,
It's been 84 years.
Point is, there was a lot of stuff that came before, and I was building off of that. So, I didn't know everything of what they had planned before. I didn't necessarily know where any of it had meant to go. So it was kind of exciting to take my ideas and apply them to what came before. And in the instances where someone else contributed, like Tracy or Leah, those were fun moments too, because it's like, okay, here are these new ideas that, I don't know necessarily where they're coming from. I don't have the 12-year plan on what to do with these. These are fresh and new and not mine, but I still get to play with them and build off of them. So with the present plan, I actually just finished revising the last script for my arc in the season 3, and going back and rereading Evan's stories and looking at her notes of stuff going forward, it was like, okay, here's where I can reference this, and here's where I can build upon this, and this is where I can tie these together, and this is fun. I haven't gotten to do it this way in a long time because it's always been me. And frankly, I'm kind of tired of me. I've known me all my life. I'm really not that exciting. Kind of tiresome when you get down to it. So this is new and different and fun, and I've had a blast with it. I mean, yeah, I knew what was going on because we plotted things out, but the paragraph synopsis for approvals is way different than the final script. You dig me?
Oh yeah.
Like there's one particular scene in part 2 where I would have had, it could have been completely different, but one of Evan's stories gave me a setting and character to play with that I wouldn't have thought of. Or heck, the entire scenario is not something I would have necessarily had to work with. So that's just fun. It's kind of a breath of fresh air for me. I'm sure it is for everyone else who's been reading me for 15 years. It's like, something not again. How nice. How novel. So yeah, it's fun. I'm digging it.
Should I finish reading this question? Or do you...
did I interrupt you?
Yeah. Kinda. Kinda.
Sorry.
Kinda. You interrupted
Please.
Joe. You interrupted Joe. I'm going to
Sorry,
finish.
Joe.
I'm going to finish reading the question. I mean,
Well, I've answered the first half of your question.
I mean, you have effectively answered most of it, but I'm going to finish it anyway for posterity, and because we owe it to Joe, because he asked the question, so it's only fair that we read it all.
Absolutely. Sorry, Joe.
Are you interested in taking over again, or do you see yourself retired as the main Sonic scribe? I know that's a massive oversimplification, with how many amazing writers and artists were attached to Archie as well as Fleetway and IDW, but aside from miniseries and all, I'm just curious if you ever see yourself back in the captain's chair in the main book.
I'm certainly game for it. That's up to IDW. If they want to swap things around next season and have me lead and Evan be contributing, okay. If they want to give Evan the lead on season 4 and I still get to contribute here and there, cool. If it's something else entirely, whatever, I'm just kind of happy to still be involved. Now, if they say, at the end of season 4, thanks for all the contributions, don't call us, we'll call you, I'll be sad. But you can't really do anything about that, so.
Yeah.
I'm just happy to get what I get.
All right. Here's this question from Bartleby. As much as I'd love to see them, I've accepted the Freedom Fighters as a lost cause. Not impossible, but I'm done holding my breath. That said, is that the same stance with everything? I'm in no rush to hear the name Chris Thorndike as long as I still stand. But I'm just curious how firm Sega is with stuff like Sonic the Comic, or the manga, or even Knuckles just wearing the hat. I know Evan said one of the disc jockeys was inspired from the OVA, but I'm curious where exactly the line is.
There is no line. It's kind of a squiggle.
Depends on who's in charge that day and if they're feeling good or not.
Sonic the Comic I know is no good. There's rights issues out the wazoo on that one. just because of the way Fleetway handled individual contributors' ownerships of the properties. That's why you didn't see the Fleetway crew beyond their cameos in that one Sonic issue, because John Gray did it as a loving homage to the Sonic the Comic fans who had just lost their book. And that apparently pissed off some of the creators across the pond. So that went into total lockdown. Sonic the Comic crew is gone. I have no idea who owns what when it comes to manga, so I wouldn't be able to hazard a guess. And Sega seems very much not keen on referencing old animated material of any kind. There are exceptions, of course. The Vector and Vanilla thing is hilarious, and that got through, but that's very Sega Sonic anyway. That's not like Chris or Mr. Tanaka or whatever. That's game characters in a very game-centric show. So the hat came back in the mobile games, or at least in Sonic Runners. I can't remember if it's in Speed Battle.
It is.
It is? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. Maybe the hat will come back one day. I am a proponent of the hat. I like the hat.
Let Knuckles have the hat. Hashtag let Knuckles have the hat. Needs the hat.
If I had to hazard a guess, I would say that out of anything of the old cartoon stuff, Sally might have the best chance of possibly getting salvaged. I'm still going to look for that avenue to get the entire Freedom Fighter crew back. They'll be different, but I think most folks just want to see them survive, no matter the incarnation. But one character who is super popular is a lot easier to sell than an entire group that is either A, part of a long dead cartoon, or B, recognized with a comic book that has had legal issues in the past. So it's a sticky, tricky situation.
Yeah.
So you're pretty much in the right mindset. Don't hold your breath. Just be excited if anything does happen to come back.
Speaking of sticky situations, Sticks is another one of those that's kind of weirdly in a nebulous state right now, sort of.
Yeah, I have no idea what's going on with Sticks. I'm really confused about her. But
yeah,
I don't know.
They should just put her in. Just put her in. Just do it. Just do it, Sega. Don't do this to us. Don't do this to us. Don't do this thing to us you've been doing for however long you've been doing it.
Annual 2022, Styx' big adventure. She's been in the comic the entire time, just stalking everybody.
Yeah. It's like Ant-Man being there the whole time. He was just real small. You never saw him. Next question is from X Bloody Whale X. Is there any story behind some universe's Mephiles being in zone jail? Why does he know and use modern slang? Why was he crossing zones? Why was Abby crossing zones? Did she get out in the prison break? I know these were just supposed to be fun cameos, but still.
No, that's it. That's all there is to them. Like, I think Mephiles was added by Tracy on a lark. And on the one hand, I'm like, it's going to make some people ask questions. And the other part of me is going, this is just a background goof. Have fun with it. Stop being so paranoid about continuity, Flynn. Let it go.
And now people are asking questions.
As I knew they would. I don't remember where Alter Abbey came from. I feel like that was somebody's suggestion, but I don't remember whose. It was either Aaliyah or John Gray, maybe Tracy. I think it was one of those things that was just so off the wall, and I'm like, yes, absolutely. Maybe I came up with it. I don't know. It's been a long time.
Take the credit, Ian. Take all the credit.
No. Credit where it's due.
And credit where it's due. All of it to you.
No.
Here's a question from Hector S. I have to ask, have either of you heard of or watched Snapcube's real-time Sonic fan dub games on YouTube?
Nope.
I think I saw a little bit of the Sonic Adventure 2 one, and it was pretty funny. But that's pretty much it. Didn't watch the whole thing, so I have very little very little exposure to it. And finally, our last question here from Rodimus Prime. Epic question of burning importance. Guys, I've got to know, at what point will we see Mr. Smith from Sonic X join the main cast of the IDW comic?
Mr. Smith joins Smash. No, Mr. Smith. We've covered this one already.
Okay.
Maybe him before Sally.
All right.
Comment in the video below if you want to see Mr. Smith before Sally. Rise, my metrics, rise.
Apparently his name is Mr. Schmitz, but in the Japanese version he was Mr. Smith.
Huh.
Interesting.
Well, that's funny because I never got corrected on that when we were doing the Sonic X book.
I don't know. I thought Mr. Smith was from the Matrix. Or maybe he went to Washington. That's yeah. Anyway. That is it. That is all the questions. That is all we have. That's all we have, Mr. Anderson.
By day, you are a podcast, but at night, you're a broadcaster of incredible bard-like power. One of these has a future, Mr. Krause.
Maybe.
That was an absolutely awful Hugo Weaving.
I was gonna say, that's like that is not a Hugo Weaving voice, but
it's kind of like a slightly ill Walter Cronkite.
I was gonna say it's yeah. Yeah.
And that's the way it was at the end of the BumbleKast. Before I embarrass myself any further, let's give a big shout out to everyone who makes this show possible. A big thank you to Daniel H., Alex P., James K., John B., Jennifer R., Samuel P., Sam Cybercat, Robotnik Holmes, Mike B., Justin G., Torchbound, Coupland Crew 128, Dois Diz Din, Diane W., Scruffy Matt, Andrew D., Chris A., John M., Dawn B., Yami M., Lee H.K., Sin Fritz, Lisa M., Sonny Chevelle, Silly String, Salute Your Cat, Dave M., Noni, Off, Justin S., Blue Title Gamer, Bradley T.T., Tick Tick, Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, Final Neil, Digama F. Wow, Jonathan L., J. Frost, Jonathan D., PC the Unicorn, Rachel W., Godzilla, Chaos Universe, Sonic Legacy, Piggy Bank, Daniel B., Preston M., Pandolce, Dalek the Dalek, Dadler the Dalek, Ogilvy Maurice, Jib, Owen B.D., Dove, Glitchius, Sapphire Scarletta, Turbo, Jonathan W., Red Wolf, Fred the Super Namek, Flixie, Sony N., Chaz L., Crooker, Hero of Light 13, AfroLuffyX, Minty, Joestar, SSB, Happy Times, Creative Name, and Scurvy Pirate Hog.
Thank you, all you lovely folks for supporting us. All you folks that we dox every week. Thank you. We try not to.
That's why you edit these things.
Maybe. I'll think about it.
No, please, Kyle. Don't do this to me.
Well, I mean, there was the last week where I completely missed a couple things. Not in terms of editing, of cutting out things, but of just, little issues here and there. I mean, the gap after the opening theme song was a little awkward. And then having the wrong date on the title card in the episode, also a little weird.
Yeah, well,
that's what I get for
Tell you what, Mr. Philanthropist, if you want a professional show, send your money to BumbleKast@yahoo.com.
Yes, that's what we get for rushing.
Oh, yeah, we did have to do
Since
that.
We did it on Sunday, yeah. We recorded on Sunday, and then I did everything after that. So, yeah, some things got lost in the shuffle while I was working on it. But luckily, you can still read it, or you can still listen to it. It's still audible. Anyway, we didn't actually say goodbye or anything on the show yet. Should we do that?
We're just rambling.
Yeah, we are. And whatever. It's fine.
Nobody listens to the end of the show anyway.
That's true. They don't. They actually, as soon as the Q&A is over, the listen rate drops off precipitously. It just
know
goes,
who we are. You know what our Twitters are. You know where our shop is. You know about Twitch. Go watch and buy things. We're done. Bye.
It's all in the description. What is this show? What even is this show?
Pile of words.
It's a miserable pile of something. Ugh.
Welcome to the BumbleKast.
Oh no, the Bumble. Yep, and it might be the best ending you've ever heard from this show, Noni, but nobody will listen to it. Because they don't. I'm serious. You look it up on. I look up the analytics on YouTube, and it's like, man, as soon as the Q&A is over, it just goes. It just drops right off, and then it at the beginning of the episode also is like very low, and then when the Q&A actually starts, the graph shoots up because they all skip. Y'all skip the intro. And just click the timestamp in the description. So, yeah, Ian, you can pretty much say anything you want at the beginning and the end of the show, and nobody will know.
Kind of tempted to seed in like a fake question in the priority Q&A. You know. Bumble fan asks, how did you get away with saying all those mean things about IDW at the beginning of the last episode? Well, Bumble fan, because nobody actually listens to the beginning of the episodes, nor did they catch any of the deals that we have in the after credits. Seriously, we've given away thousands of dollars, but nobody wants it.
It's true. It's true. There we go. Now the record button has been hit. So now we won't be just sitting here talking to nothing for no reason.
Not that that's ever happened before.
Never, ever. You know,
one of these days, I hope I get pitched a project where I get to write just this hyper-violent, super disturbing horror book. And people are just going to kind of go, oh, you've been hiding that all this time, have you? It's like, yeah, dude.
You've been listening to the BumbleKast, a co-production of Bumble King Comics and the KNGI Network. Original theme music composed by Ken Coda Snyder. Remixed intro by T-Lopes. Find out more information, along with podcast feeder links, MP3 downloads, and more at bumbleking.com and kngi.org.
Will Ian swear? Let Ian say a swear. Yuck.
Well, if you're here in the pre or post show, you've heard Ian swear.
I try to keep it classy in front of friends and patrons and whatnot.
Sure.
I mean, when it's just me and the cats, I really don't have a filter, but
Ian is too pure to say poopy words. I don't think so, dude. I don't think so. I spent a week in his house. Then again, I think Aaliyah, between the two of you, Aaliyah is the one who's who lets loose with the swears very much more frequently.
She is. I find that I usually keep mine under control until I'm just really bent out of shape.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's kind of funny because, we've had friends who, I'm always very pleasant and cordial around, and then they'll bring up some topic that really grinds my gears, and I'll, the inhibitor rings drop. I stop paying attention, and there's this kind of look of, wait, you know those words? You're capable of making that sound?
I've had that with some people too, apparently, where they're like, what? You swear? It's like, I mean, yeah.
I feel like we were driving somewhere. Maybe I was taking you to the airport or something. And, I don't even remember what the context was, but you brought up something and I just like casually swore about it and you like cracked up. Because sometimes dirty words are just fun.
Well, yeah, they are, but I just laugh at everything. You know that.
Well, that's true.
I'm laughing right now at nothing. Why am I laughing?